everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing In the Woods by Tana. This is the first book in the, I think it's called Dublin Murder Squad series. Now I had seen this book and it feels like every single bookstore, library that I've entered for the past year because this series is so incredibly popular, but I've had such bad luck with detective crime novels over the past few years that I've just always picked it up and put it back down. Maybe it's my fault for just picking bad ones to read, but it feels as if so many crime detective novels have the same storyline. They all feel like they're written by James Patterson or one of the people who writes his books. No offense if you like them. I will say the only detective series I have really enjoyed is, let's see if I can get it out, this is like book Jenga, is the Garnet Hill trilogy by Denise Mina. She's a Scottish author. I highly recommend this series. But anyway, In the Woods has the backstory of, in 1984, 3 children in kind of a small town right outside Dublin go missing in the woods nearby the town. Now only one of those children surfaces again, a young boy named Rob. His shoes are filled with blood, his back is scratched, and the other 2 children are never found. Then, during present day, Rob is now a detective. His superiors have no idea that he is this young boy who had gone missing. The only person who's really aware of who he is his best friend and also his partner, Cassie, who's wonderful. The story really takes off when a 12-year-old girl from that same village disappears and is found murdered in that same wood. She was a ballet prodigy and she's found dead, placed upon this stone on an archaeological site that's currently undergoing a dig. I only eventually picked up this book because I had so many of you tell me you had read this and you knew that I would enjoy it and it was one of your favorite books of all time, and I have to say, it did not let me down whatsoever. It definitely surpassed my expectations. My favorite aspect of this book, besides just the writing itself, which I'll get to, is definitely the characters. They were incredibly realistic and quirky, and not a quirky in a I'm so unique and special, forced quirky kind of way. They just felt so realistic and as if someone you would meet day to day, that made them feel incredibly unique, if that makes sense. Rob especially, this book is told from his point of view, fucks up a lot. In a lot of ways it feels very unredeemable, but again that just felt very realistic. With obviously his past, he's definitely a character with a lot of flaws because of the past. There's definitely that good balance between hating and really enjoying his character. And I will say I loved Cassie, his, tiny female sidekick. I will say sometimes she felt a bit too perfect, but I did really enjoy her. I was worried she was gonna fall into that trope of being the spunky, tiny female detective, but she definitely didn't, but she was definitely a very, very lovable character. Their relationship as best friends and the way it develops and changes with its ups and downs throughout the book felt also realistic, just like the characters themselves. And I am very interested to see how it plays out throughout the series. My favorite aspect about this book and why I love this series by Denise Mina so much is because it's not just a detective novel and it's not just a crime novel. The writing felt very organic, and like I was saying, the book isn't a cut and dry detective novel, which is when I get to talking about the ending, and don't worry, I won't spoil anything. I think because it's not a cut and dry crime novel, that's why a lot of people who were going into it maybe hoping for that didn't enjoy it, but that's actually why I did like it. Like I said, I loved the way relationships were handled, whether it's between Rob and his kind of stubborn, old-fashioned superiors, Rob and Cassie, the characters and the family of the girl who was murdered. It's also just a really linguistically beautiful book that says a lot of really interesting, intriguing things about human nature, which when you think about it, having interesting things to say about human nature really should go hand in hand with crime novels, so I loved how that was handled. It says a lot of interesting things about how fear can hold us back. And speaking of fear, during certain flashbacks, and you guys who've read the book will know what I'm talking about, very surprisingly creepy, and that was really done and I was not expecting it. So you don't have to exit out if you haven't read the book, but I am going to talk about the ending without giving anything away, so if you want to, just to be extra careful, feel free. But I've always said with books, I don't like books that are, tied off with a perfect ribbon at the end where everything is resolved. All I'll say are some things are resolved and some things are not. And I will say the one fault I will give this book isn't actually the fact that things weren't resolved with one plot line. I enjoyed that because I liked the writing and the characters in this book so much. I think it would have felt a bit too forced to have everything resolved, and I'm excited to see how the things that weren't resolved progress. But the storyline that was wrapped up, I hated how it was wrapped up, and it felt kind of just like a random episode of Law & Order, so The ending that you did get for one of the plot lines I didn't enjoy, and that's probably why I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars, just because I thought it ended up being a bit cheesy. But overall, I did love this book, and I would highly recommend it if you want a good crime novel. If you've read the rest of the books in the series without giving anything away, let me know what you thought about them, and if you have any other crime novels you'd like to recommend, because maybe it's my fault. Maybe I've just been choosing them badly over the past few years. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you check out In the Woods if you haven't yet, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.